The crystal wine glasses froze mid-toast as Trevor raised his voice above the chatter of 15 guests gathered around the long oak dining table in their suburban Chicago home. "To my brilliant wife Olivia," he announced. His chest puffed out in that tailored navy blazer he loved wearing to impress his marketing team colleagues. "And to the financial foresight that saved her life from stage 3 breast cancer 3 years ago. Without my smart investments and planning, that experimental treatment in Houston never would have happened." I sat at the far end of the table. Michael Brooks, the man whose hands had fixed pipes and installed heating systems for 30 years before everything changed. The words hit me like cold water down my back. My name is Michael. And that night, Christmas Eve, everything I'd buried for 3 long years clawed its way to the surface. Olivia, my daughter, looked radiant in her emerald dress, 18 months cancer-free and glowing with health. But her eyes darted nervously toward me as Trevor continued his story. The room smelled of roasted turkey, cinnamon candles, and pine from the 8-foot tree in the corner. Dr. Elena Vargas, Olivia's oncologist, sat 2 seats away, her expression tightening just slightly as Trevor spun his tale of heroism. It had started the moment I pulled up in my old work truck, a reliable 2008 Chevy Silverado with the faded Brooks Plumbing and Heating logo still visible on the door. Trevor had greeted me at the curb with a tight smile. "Mike, glad you could make it. Mind parking that thing around back? The neighbors might get the wrong idea with Mrs. Alvarez coming over." His voice carried that edge of superiority I'd grown used to ignoring. Olivia had hugged me tightly inside, whispering, "Dad, thanks for coming. This means everything after what we've been through." But Trevor was already directing traffic. "Appetizers are in the kitchen if you want to help out. Mike, put those handyman skills to good use." He chuckled to his colleagues. Olivia's dad used to run a little plumbing outfit. Retired now. Does odd jobs to stay busy. 30 employees. A business I'd built from nothing, starting with 1 van and late-night emergency calls. Not little. But I smiled politely and headed to the kitchen, where Olivia was arranging platters of bruschetta and stuffed mushrooms on the fine china I'd helped her choose 2 Christmases ago. "He doesn't mean anything by it," she said softly, avoiding my eyes as she adjusted a sprig of rosemary. "The promotion's been stressful. But things are good now." Promotion. The one I'd quietly arranged through old contacts, funneling consulting fees his way so their budget wouldn't collapse under medical follow-ups and his lingering MBA loans. I nodded, remembering the day 3 years earlier when the diagnosis hit like a freight train. Stage 3 breast cancer. Aggressive. Standard chemo wasn't cutting it fast enough. Dr. Vargas had recommended an experimental immunotherapy trial at MD Anderson in Houston costing $135,000 upfront, not covered by insurance. Olivia and Trevor had $9,000 in savings and mounting credit card debt. That's when I made the call that changed my life. Brooks Plumbing and Heating. 30 years of 14-hour days. Loyal crews. Community projects like free installs for low-income families. I sold it all to my biggest competitor for $350,000 cash. Told Olivia it came from my retirement nest egg. She believed me because parents do whatever it takes. But Trevor? He never asked details. Never thanked me properly. Instead, the disrespect grew. Comments about my rusty truck, jokes about retired plumbers playing handyman. Meanwhile, I quietly transferred $2,900 monthly from my personal account to cover their mortgage shortfall. Car payments, insurance gaps, everything their income couldn't stretch to after her recovery. Back in the dining room, Trevor was holding court. "The key to success is vision," he said, gesturing with his wine glass. The overhead lights I'd helped install last spring caught the crystal. Most people panic in crisis. But I had contingency plans. Portfolio adjustments. When Olivia needed that Houston treatment, boom, full payment wired. No delays.
DR.
Vargas shifted uncomfortably. She'd been in those meetings, seen the insurance denials, the desperate loan applications. I caught her eye and offered a small nod. The appetizers were served, but tension simmered beneath the polite conversation. Trevor turned to me. Mike, grab yourself a drink. No need to hover. Retirement must be relaxing, right? No more dealing with leaky faucets all day. His colleagues laughed awkwardly. One of them, a woman named Rachel from his firm, looked sympathetic. I kept my voice even. The business provided steady work. Good team. But Trevor waved it off. Sure. But scalability matters. We didn't settle for fine. We strategized the house purchase. Timed the market perfectly. The house. 3-bedroom colonial in a desirable neighborhood. $295,000 purchase price. Down payment of $60,000 documented as a gift from me. But Trevor presented it as their clever saving strategy. I'd made sure the paperwork was clean for the bank because their debt-to-income ratio alone wouldn't qualify. Olivia touched my arm in the kitchen later.
Dad.
He's just excited about the holiday. Please don't let it bother you. Her eyes held that pleading look I'd seen too often lately. The one that said she knew something was off but couldn't face it yet. As dessert plates were cleared, Trevor launched deeper into his narrative. Guests leaned in, wine flowing, but cracks were forming. My phone vibrated with a text from my old business broker. Merry Christmas.
Mike.
Richardson Electrical still has openings if you're ready. Timing couldn't have been more perfect. The night was young, but the foundation of Trevor's world was about to crack wide open. Trevor's voice rose as he refilled his whiskey glass, the amber liquid catching the candlelight. When Olivia got the diagnosis, most couples would have crumbled. 50-50 odds with conventional treatment. But I said no, we're going for the absolute best. Experimental protocol in Houston. $135,000 upfront. Full payment required before scheduling. The room quieted further.
DR.
Vargas gripped her napkin, her professional composure straining. She'd witnessed the raw panic calls, the credit card max-outs, the $9,000 savings statement. Trevor continued, oblivious. I restructured our portfolio, liquidated smart investments, had contingency plans ready. Wire transfer same day. Treatment started immediately. Olivia never worried about money. I handled it so she could heal. Olivia's face paled, her fork hovering. She remembered those weeks differently, sleepless nights. Trevor's anxiety attacks. Me researching sale options quietly in my home office. Rachel from marketing leaned forward, impressed. You had $135,000 liquid? That's incredible planning. Trevor's chest swelled. Not just sitting there. Diversified assets. Emergency buffers. Follow-ups.
Meds.
Monitoring another $50,000 over the year. But proper systems absorb hits like that. I felt the cold settle in my chest. 3 years of him taking vague credit was one thing. This explicit rewriting of history, claiming my $350,000 business sale as his portfolio restructuring, was something else entirely.
DR.
Vargas cleared her throat. The payment did arrive remarkably fast. January 2023. Single wire from an account. She trailed off professionally, but her eyes met mine with dawning realization. Trevor interrupted smoothly. Team effort. Olivia focused on recovery, I managed the finances. That's marriage, complementary strengths.
But the phone calls started then.
Olivia's phone buzzed first. The mortgage servicer calling about missed supplemental payments. Then the BMW finance department. December payment declined. Trevor's face drained of color. Bank glitch, he muttered. Holidays mess with processing.
DR.
Vargas excused herself for air.
Pausing by my chair.
Michael, join me about the Cancer Center fundraiser. Her tone left no room for debate. On the porch, winter air bit sharp. That payment, she said quietly. It came from your account. The business sale contract timing matches perfectly. You sold everything for her treatment. I showed her the photos on my phone. Sale papers dated January 12th, 2023. Wire receipt January 18th. Bank transfers totaling $2,900 monthly for 36 months. Disguised as investment returns from my supposed retirement fund.
DR.
Vargas exhaled slowly. Over $290,000 total between treatment, house down payment, ongoing support. And he's in there claiming it was his genius. He's my son-in-law. Olivia needed stability during recovery. But the disrespect, the jokes about my truck, my odd jobs. She glanced through the window where Trevor was still gesturing animatedly despite the calls. This isn't just ingratitude. It's erasure of your sacrifice. More calls came. Overdrawn accounts. Trevor frantically checking apps as guests pretended not to notice. The tension thickened, like the gravy cooling on the table. I felt the envelope in my jacket pocket. Statements,
Contracts.
receipts. Evidence accumulated quietly over 3 years. The moment of truth approached, but looking at Olivia's frightened expression, sadness mixed with resolve. Not just for Trevor, but for the daughter about to learn how deeply her husband had rewritten their reality. Trevor tried deflecting. Multiple backup systems.
It'll sort out.
But his voice wavered. The colleagues exchanged glances. Rachel looked particularly uneasy, perhaps recalling office conversations where Trevor had bragged about his financial acumen.
DR.
Vargas returned to her seat with renewed purpose. The performance was cracking, and the full revelation waited just moments away. The evening that began with celebration was barreling toward reckoning. Trevor's confidence frayed as Olivia scrolled transactions at the table. Guests frozen in awkward silence. Where's the monthly deposit? The returns from Dad's retirement fund? She asked, voice trembling. Trevor stammered. Market delay. December volatility. But the lie hung exposed. I reached into my jacket and placed the business sale contract on the table. Dated January 12th, 2023. There is no retirement fund generating those returns. Olivia. I sold Brooks Plumbing and Heating 3 years ago for $350,000 to pay for your Houston treatment. The room inhaled collectively. Olivia stared. $135,000 upfront. Insurance denied everything. You had $9,000 saved. Trevor shook his head. We handled financing. My voice stayed calm but firm. You had $18,000 credit card debt and no available credit. The clinic required full payment upfront. This wire receipt proves it came from my business account.
DR.
Vargas confirmed. Payment cleared at 1:45 p.m. Treatment started by 4 p.m. that day. Olivia's eyes filled with tears.
Dad.
You paid for everything. And the house down payment, $60,000 more for my savings after the sale proceeds. Documented as gift funds because your income didn't qualify alone. I laid out bank statements showing $2,900 monthly transfers for 3 years. These covered the mortgage extra, BMW, student loans, insurance premiums, disguised as investment income so you'd have peace during recovery. Trevor went gray. The salary increases. The promotion. Consulting fees I arranged through old contacts. Base salary $4,300 monthly. Everything above was subsidized. Rachel gasped. You told us those were performance-based.
DR.
Vargas's voice cut cold. 20 minutes ago. Trevor. You claimed you funded Olivia's life-saving care through superior planning, using money from Michael's liquidated business while treating him like a charity case doing odd jobs. Total support, nearly $290,000. The number landed heavy. Olivia sobbed openly. Guests shifted. Professional reputations recalibrating in real time. Trevor whispered, "I didn't know." "You never asked," I replied. "Never questioned good fortune. Mocked my truck. My work. While living in the house. Driving the car. Enjoying the lifestyle I funded." Olivia stood. "Trevor, you knew Dad sold the business right when I got sick. You called it coincidence." The math was brutal. Actual income $4,300 versus expenses $6,900 monthly. Without support. Collapse inevitable. 3 months of stop transfers had triggered the crisis. I gathered the documents. Transfers end permanently. Consulting arrangement ends today. Live on what you earn. Respect isn't optional anymore. I stood, leaving the shattered illusion behind. Olivia called after me, but Christmas night demanded space. The next morning brought the real conversations. My phone rang at 6:15 a.m. Olivia, voice raw from crying.
Dad.
"I'm devastated. I let Trevor dismiss you. I believed we were managing independently. He said your help was small. Your retirement solid." I poured coffee, staring at the same kitchen table where I'd signed the sale papers years ago. "You were fighting for your life."
Honey. Priorities were right then.
Now we face truth. Without support, they couldn't sustain the house or car. Trevor's running numbers all night. We're in crisis. That was the point. Learn real budgeting. Trevor called next. Voice hoarse. "Michael."
I'm sorry.
The comments. The attitude. I was an ass. "But we're losing everything. Mortgage modification needs cosigner. Any arrangement possible? Loan with interest? No more secret subsidies while being disrespected. Live within means. Sell the BMW. Downsize. Make sacrifices like everyone else." Jennifer from Trevor's office called third. "Mr. Brooks, we're auditing the consulting arrangement. It appears artificial." "Derek, sorry." Trevor should have been transparent. His professional world crumbled. Colleagues now saw the subsidized success.
Dr.
Vargas called last. I didn't overstep, but his boasting was obscene. $290,000 of your life erased. How do you feel? Relieved the fiction ended. Exhausted from pretending. Olivia called again. Employer meeting tomorrow about the fees. Bank offered modification but needs cosigner. I'm not asking you to sign. Dad. What actions rebuild trust? First, Trevor lives on actual income 6 months, no bailouts. Second, public apology to witnesses for taking credit and disrespect. Third, he works handyman projects with me 1 month unpaid to understand the work he mocked. She hesitated. That'll bruise his ego. Consequences. If he refuses, it reveals character. You decide your marriage accordingly. We discussed practicalities, health monitoring, employment risks, realistic downsizing. But the core was respect requiring truth. At call's end, Olivia said, I'm proud you stood up. You taught sacrifice. Then boundaries. After hanging up, I thought of my late wife. She'd approve. Mike Patterson called offering project manager role at the buying company. Ready to rebuild? Looking at my empty house. Empty accounts. Full schedule of neighbor help. I considered it. Respect starts within too. Weeks passed in quiet recalibration. Trevor completed the handyman month, awkward at first, learning pipe fitting, furnace repairs. The physical grind he'd dismissed. No pay. Just lessons in real labor. Olivia returned part-time when health allowed, embracing smaller budgets. They sold the BMW at loss, downsized to a modest townhome. Credit took hits, but stabilized through discipline. Trevor's public apology to the dinner guests via group message acknowledged the lies and disrespect. Professional fallout lingered, salary adjusted downward. Trust rebuilt slowly at work. Olivia and I grew closer through honest talks. She visited weekly, helping with projects, sharing laughs over coffee.
Dad.
Boundaries hurt but healed us. Trevor approached cautiously one afternoon while I fixed Mrs. Alvarez's water heater. Michael. I see it now. The sacrifices. The quiet strength. Thank you for Olivia. For everything. I was blind. Actions spoke louder than words. He never asked for money again, focusing instead on genuine growth. The moral lingered, generosity taken for granted poisons relationships. True love demands respect.
Truth.
And sometimes painful boundaries. Sacrifice without acknowledgement breeds resentment, but honesty can rebuild what ingratitude nearly destroyed. Families navigate these storms differently. Some learn late, others never do. What would you choose when generosity meets entitlement? The cost of respect often exceeds money. It's measured in dignity.
Truth.
And the courage to say enough. Years later, watching Olivia thrive in their simpler life, I knew the price was worth it. Some miracles come not from money, but from finally seeing the hands that paid for them.